The quantum anomaly detector in Dr. Sarah Chen's laboratory hadn't stopped beeping for 3 days straight. At first, she'd assumed it was a malfunction. After all, the device was experimental, designed to measure quantum fluctuations that theoretically shouldn't even exist in normal spacetime. But as she stared at the readings for the 100th time, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard, she knew this was something else entirely. The anomalies had started appearing simultaneously at 12 different points around Earth, each one perfectly synchronized with the others. Too perfect to be natural, too complex to be a coincidence. As she compiled the data, a pattern emerged that sent chills down her spine. They were watching us. Dr. Chen, her assistant Marco's voice crackled through the intercom. You might want to see this. Sarah hurried to the observatory attached to her quantum physics lab at MIT. The morning sun had barely risen, casting long shadows across the campus, but the sky held something that shouldn't be there. Through the telescope's digital display, she could see them. Distortions in space, like heat waves on a summer road, but against the cold backdrop of the atmosphere. Their cloaking technology is failing, she whispered, more to herself than to Marco. The solar storm must be interfering with it. As if in response to her words, the distortions began to take shape. Massive vessels, each one at least a mile long, shimmered into visibility. Their surfaces resembled liquid mercury, flowing and shifting in patterns that defied conventional engineering. 12 ships positioned exactly where her quantum readings had detected anomalies. Her phone rang. The caller ID displayed a number she didn't recognize, but she knew who it would be. The government had certainly been monitoring the same phenomena. Dr. Chen, a stern voice said before she could speak. I'm Colonel Richards with the Joint Chiefs. We need you in Washington. Now. Within hours, Sarah found herself in a windowless room deep beneath the Pentagon. Military leaders from around the world joined virtually, their faces grim on the wall of screens before her. She'd just finished presenting her findings when the first transmission came. We are the Viridian Collective, the message began, appearing simultaneously on every digital device on Earth. The words shifted through different languages, adapting to each viewer. Your species has reached a crucial junction. We have watched, we have waited, and now we must intervene. Colonel Richards turned to Sarah. Doctor, you're our foremost expert on quantum mechanics. What are we dealing with? Sarah studied the complex data patterns underlying the transmission. Their technology. It's based on principles I've only theorized about. They're manipulating quantum fields on a massive scale, but there's something else. She paused, her eyes widening as she processed the implications. They're not just here to make contact. They're responding to something we've done. As if confirming her suspicion, the Viridian message continued. Your recent advances in quantum field manipulation have drawn our attention. Dr. Sarah Chen's work, in particular, has demonstrated that humanity has begun to grasp concepts that will irreversibly alter your development as a species. The room fell silent. Sarah felt the weight of every eye upon her as the alien spoke her name. Her research, her theoretical work on quantum consciousness and its potential role in manipulating reality, had somehow caught the attention of an advanced alien civilization. But you do not understand the price of this knowledge, the transmission continued. Your planet sits upon a cosmic crossroads, a nexus of quantum crystalline matrices that your species has yet to discover. Dr. Chen's research has inadvertently begun to activate these ancient structures. We can no longer maintain our position as silent observers. The next few hours passed in a blur of emergency meetings and rapid-fire decisions. As Earth's government struggled to formulate a response, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The equations running through her mind pointed to a possibility too extraordinary to ignore. In a brief moment of quiet, she pulled Colonel Richards aside. The quantum signatures I've been detecting in my lab, they're not just coming from their ships. There's something beneath us, something that's been here all along. We're not just dealing with first contact. We're dealing with a revelation that could rewrite human history. Richard studied her face carefully. "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" "I'm suggesting," Sarah said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "that the Viridians aren't here to guide us or warn us. They're here because they're afraid of what we might discover on our own." As if in response to her words, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. On the main screen, new data poured in. Quantum disturbances were erupting at sites around the globe, far more powerful than anything they detected before. The Viridian ships had begun moving, taking up new positions around the planet. Sarah watched the patterns of energy emerging from deep within the Earth, matching them against her theoretical models. A theory began to form in her mind, one that would soon prove both more wonderful and more terrible than anyone could have imagined. Humanity wasn't just making first contact with an alien civilization. They were about to discover that their entire understanding of human history and potential had been built on a carefully maintained illusion. And now that illusion was beginning to crack. Commander James Hayes had seen his share of unusual phenomena during his 15 years with NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Division, but nothing like this. The Viridian ships had maintained their positions for 48 hours now, their mercury-like hulls reflecting sunlight in ways that seemed to defy physics. But it was what his instruments were detecting beneath Earth's surface that truly concerned him. "These energy signatures are growing exponentially," he reported to the emergency council gathered in the Pentagon's secure chamber. "Whatever these quantum crystalline matrices are, they're becoming more active by the hour." Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the holographic display, her fingers moving through the complex three-dimensional model of Earth's internal energy grid. "The patterns are consistent with my theoretical work on quantum consciousness interfaces, but the scale, it's beyond anything I imagined possible." A new voice joined the discussion, smooth and artificially modulated. The Viridian ambassador, appearing as a shifting pillar of iridescent light, manifested in the center of the room. "Your species stands at the threshold of a power you cannot comprehend. The quantum crystalline networks beneath your world are not merely energy sources. They are the remnants of a civilization far older than our own." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "You're not here to help us, are you? You're here to contain us." The ambassador's form flickered. "We are here to prevent catastrophe. Humanity's consciousness resonates with these ancient networks in ways we cannot replicate. It makes you dangerous, to yourselves, and to the galaxy at large." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared through the facility. Commander Hayes rushed to his console, multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. "They're not Viridian signatures." The ambassador's form pulsed with what might have been concern. "The Nexus Concordat. They were not supposed to interfere." Massive ships, angular and obsidian black, emerged from swirling portals around Earth's orbit. Unlike the fluid grace of Viridian vessels, these newcomers bristled with obvious weapons. Their arrival sent the quantum readings from Earth's core skyrocketing. "Your attempts to contain this situation have failed, Viridian," a harsh voice boomed through all communications channels. "Humanity's connection to the ancient networks cannot be suppressed any longer. The prophecies must be fulfilled." Sarah watched as new data flooded her screens. The quantum crystalline matrices were responding to the presence of the Concordat ships, but not in the way either alien faction seemed to expect. The energy patterns were forming structures that matched her theoretical models of human neural networks, but on a planetary scale. "Commander Hayes," she called out, her voice urgent, "I need access to every quantum sensor on Earth. I think I understand what's happening." As Hayes coordinated with global scientific facilities, Sarah began correlating the data. The patterns were clear. Human consciousness wasn't just compatible with the ancient quantum network, it was designed to interface with it. Or perhaps, more incredibly, the network had designed itself to interface with human consciousness over millennia of co-evolution. "The network isn't just responding to us," she announced to the stunned room. "It's been shaping us, preparing humanity for this moment. And now it's waking up." The Viridian ambassador's form became agitated. "This is precisely what we sought to prevent. The power of the network coupled with human consciousness could destabilize the entire galaxy. No, Sarah countered, her mind racing ahead as the pieces fell into place. You're not afraid we'll destroy the galaxy. You're afraid we'll change it. Human consciousness does something unique with quantum systems. We don't just observe them. We imagine new possibilities. We create. Commander Hayes stepped forward, his expression grave. Doctor, the Concordat ships are charging weapons. Whatever's going to happen, it needs to happen now. Sarah turned to Colonel Richards. I need immediate access to my lab at MIT. The quantum anomaly detector I built. It's not just detecting the network, it's been communicating with it. We've had the key all along. We just didn't know what lock it was meant to open. As if in response to her words, the quantum crystalline matrices pulsed with unprecedented power. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, something ancient and powerful stirred to life, responding to humanity's growing awareness of its existence. The game of observation and containment was over. The time of awakening had begun. In low Earth orbit, both the Viridian and Concordat fleets watched in a mixture of awe and trepidation as the quantum energies began to take visible form, weaving patterns of light around the planet that mirrored the neural pathways of the human brain. Humanity wasn't just discovering its place in the galaxy. It was about to demonstrate why some secrets are kept hidden, not because of their danger, but because of their power to transform everything they touch. Dr. Sarah Chen's lab at MIT had become a nexus of activity, both terrestrial and quantum. The sophisticated equipment she'd built to study quantum anomalies now pulsed with ethereal light, responding to the awakening network beneath Earth's surface. But it was her newest visitor that held everyone's attention. Kull, a Viridian quantum physicist who had broken ranks with the collective, stood before her primary console. Unlike the ambassador's light-form projection, Catal had chosen to reveal their true appearance, a beam of crystalline structures that shifted and flowed like living mercury, forming temporary appendages as needed. Your theories about quantum consciousness weren't just correct, Dr. Chen. Catal's voice resonated through the crystalline structure of their form. They were inevitable. Human minds evolved alongside the ancient network, developing capabilities that my species has spent millennia trying to replicate. Commander Hayes maintained a cautious distance, his hand never far from his sidearm. Why help us? Your people seem pretty determined to keep this knowledge buried. Kittle's form rippled with what might have been amusement. The collective believes in preservation through control. But some of us recognize that evolution cannot, should not, be contained. The ancient ones who built this network understood this. Sarah's fingers danced across her quantum interface, correlating new data as it poured in. The network's response patterns, they're not just matching human neural networks anymore. They're enhancing them, creating new connections. It's like it's been waiting for us to reach this level of awareness. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Hayes rushed to the security console. Multiple Concordat ships are breaching atmosphere. They're targeting major population centers. Kull's form pulsed with urgency. The Concordat believes they can force the network's activation by pushing humanity to the brink. They don't understand. The network responds to consciousness, not chaos. Sarah's mind raced, connecting pieces of a puzzle that had been millennia in the making. It's not just consciousness, it's imagination. Human beings don't just observe quantum possibilities, we create new ones. That's why the network chose us. The building shook as Concordat ships passed overhead, their weapons charging. Catal moved to Sarah's quantum interface, their crystalline form interfacing directly with her equipment. Dr. Chen, your species has a concept we lack. You call it intuition. The ability to make creative leaps beyond pure logic. The network requires this. Commander Hayes received urgent communications from global defense forces. They're launching simultaneous attacks across all continents. The Viridian fleet is engaging them, but they're outnumbered. The network isn't a weapon, Sarah suddenly announced, her eyes wide with realization. It's a tool for creation. The ancient ones didn't build it to destroy. They built it to evolve, to transform. That's why human consciousness is compatible. We're not meant to control it. We're meant to dream through it. Cthulhu's form brightened. Yes, the collective fears this power because it cannot be calculated or controlled. Human imagination coupled with quantum manipulation could rewrite the fundamental laws of reality itself. The facility rocked with another explosion, closer this time. Hayes steadied himself against a console. That's fascinating, but right now we need a way to stop the Concordat from destroying everything. Sarah turned to Cthulhu. You said the network responds to consciousness, not chaos. What if we could channel humanity's collective consciousness through it? Not just me or a small group, but everyone. The energy requirements would be enormous, Cthulhu cautioned. And the risk? Directing the focused consciousness of billions through quantum space. We don't need to direct it, Sarah interrupted, her voice firm with conviction. We just need to connect it. Humans have been dreaming of the stars, of peace, of a better future since we first looked up at the night sky. The network doesn't need our control. It needs our dreams. As if responding to her words, the quantum interface began to pulse with new energy. Around the globe, people reported seeing strange lights, feeling unexpected connections to something vast and ancient. The quantum crystalline network, dormant for so long, was resonating with the collective unconscious of humanity. Cthulhu's form shifted in what might have been excitement. The network, it's creating quantum entanglement fields around population centers. It's linking human consciousness autonomously. Commander Hayes watched his tactical displays in amazement as patterns of light began to spread across the globe, linking city to city, mind to mind. The Concordat ship's weapons fired, but their energy blasts seemed to dissipate into the growing quantum field surrounding Earth. In orbit, both Viridian and Concordat fleets watched as humanity did something unprecedented in the history of the galaxy. They began to dream together, their collective imagination channeled through an ancient quantum network that had waited eons for precisely this moment. The transformation had begun, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be quite the same again. The quantum network pulsed with the combined consciousness of billions of human minds, each one adding its own unique frequency to an ever-growing symphony of thought and possibility. In her NIT lab, Dr. Sarah Chen watched in awe as new data patterns emerge, more complex and beautiful than anything she'd ever seen. The network isn't just connecting minds, she breathed, studying the readings. It's connecting dreams. Every hope, every imagined future, they're all becoming part of the quantum field. Cthulhu's crystalline form rippled with excitement as they interfaced with Sarah's equipment. This is beyond anything in our historical records. The ancient ones theorized this possibility, but no species has ever achieved such complete quantum synchronization. Commander Hayes monitored the global situation from his tactical display. The Concordat ships, their weapons aren't penetrating the quantum field, but they're not retreating either. They're taking up new positions. The facility shuddered as more ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Through the lab's windows, they could see the massive vessels of both fleets engaged in a deadly dance overhead. The Viridian ships moved with fluid grace, trying to intercept their more aggressive counterparts. Something's changing in the network pattern, Sarah announced, her fingers flying over the quantum interface. It's not just connecting consciousness anymore. It's accessing memory, ancient memory. Cthulhu moved closer to the display, their form shifting rapidly in what might have been agitation. Impossible. The network was dormant for millennia before your species evolved. No, Sarah corrected, her eyes wide with understanding. It wasn't dormant. It was growing with us. Every generation of human development, every step of our evolution. The network was there, learning, adapting. We weren't just chosen to interface with it. We were shaped by it. The quantum readings suddenly spiked, sending cascading waves of energy through every monitoring system. Around the globe, people reported seeing strange visions, fragments of an ancient civilization that had seeded the galaxy with quantum networks, preparing for a future they knew would come. Commander Hayes received urgent communications from global military commands. The quantum field, it's not just defending Earth anymore. It's expanding. The Concordat ships that try to enter it are being transformed. Through the windows, they watched as several Concordat vessels encountered the edge of Earth's growing quantum field. Instead of being destroyed, the ships seemed to shift, their rigid structures flowing into new forms that resembled the more organic design of Viridian vessels. The network doesn't destroy, Sarah realized. It transforms. That's what the Ancient Ones designed it for. Not weapon, but a tool of evolution. Kettle's form pulsed with intense light. Yes, the prophecies weren't about destruction or conquest. They were about transformation. Your species doesn't just imagine new possibilities. You make them real. The Ancient Ones must have seen this potential in humanity's future. The quantum interface erupted with new data as the network continued to expand its influence. Sarah saw patterns that matched archaeological records, ancient cave paintings, mysterious structures, myths, and legends from every human culture that spoke of transformation and awakening. Every story of enlightenment, she whispered. Every myth about humans reaching for something greater. The network was speaking to us through our own legends, preparing us for this moment. Commander Hayes studied his tactical displays with growing amazement. The Concordat fleet, they're standing down. The transformed ships are broadcasting some kind of signal to the others. They're sharing the experience, Kettle explained. The network doesn't just transform matter, it transforms understanding. The Concordat is experiencing humanity's perspective, your hopes, your dreams, your endless capacity for change. Sarah watched as the quantum field continued to grow, its patterns becoming ever more complex. This is what the Ancient Ones planned for, not just the awakening of the network, but the awakening of consciousness itself. They seeded these networks throughout the galaxy, waiting for a species that could use them not for power, but for transformation. Through the quantum network, humanity's collective consciousness reached out to the stars, carrying with it not weapons or demands, but something far more powerful, the ability to imagine new possibilities and make them real. The age of isolation was ending, and the age of transformation was about to begin. Earth glowed like a newborn star, wrapped in layers of quantum energy that pulsed with the combined consciousness of humanity. The transformed Concordat ships hung in space alongside their Viridian counterparts, their once rigid forms now flowing with the same Mercury-like grace. But it was what was happening on the surface that truly marked the dawn of a new era. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her quantum interface, no longer simply reading data, but experiencing it directly through the network. Every human mind on Earth had become part of something greater, yet each remained uniquely individual, a paradox that only human consciousness could seem to maintain. The Ancient Ones. Kettle's crystalline form resonated with revelation. They weren't just leaving behind technology. They were creating the conditions for consciousness itself to evolve. Commander Hayes watched as military installations worldwide reported the same phenomenon. Weapons systems transforming into something new, technology evolving beyond its original purpose. It's not just affecting ships and stations. Everything we've built. It's all changing. Because we're changing, Sarah explained, her voice filled with wonder. The network doesn't just connect us. It amplifies our ability to imagine and create. We're not just observing quantum possibilities anymore. We're dreaming new ones into existence. Through the quantum network, they could feel the presence of other civilizations watching, learning, understanding. The Viridian collective's fear of chaos was being replaced by an appreciation of creative potential. The Concordat's desire for power was transforming into a yearning for evolution. Your species, Kettle observed, you never saw limits as absolute. Where we saw walls, you imagined doors. Where we sought to preserve, you sought to transform. This is why the Ancient Ones chose Earth as the nexus point. Sarah's quantum interface showed the network's influence spreading beyond Earth, following the paths laid down by the Ancient Ones. Other quantum crystalline matrices throughout the galaxy were awakening, responding to the wave of consciousness emanating from humanity. We're not meant to control this power, she realized. We're meant to share it, to show others how to dream beyond the boundaries of what seems possible. The facility hummed with energy as new data poured in. Commander Hayes coordinated with space agencies worldwide as reports came in of unprecedented phenomena. The quantum field, it's creating some kind of scaffolding through space, like a network of bridges between stars. The Ancient Ones called them dreamways. Kittle explained, their form shifting with excitement. Quantum pathways that could connect consciousness across the galaxy, but they could never make them stable. They needed human imagination. Sarah completed the thought. We don't just see what is, we see what could be. Our minds naturally create connections between possibilities. Through the quantum network, they could feel humanity's collective consciousness exploring these new pathways, reaching out to distant stars with curiosity rather than conquest. The fear that had driven both the Viridian Collective and the Concordat was being replaced by something more powerful: hope. Every human achievement, Sarah mused, watching the data flows. Every leap forward. It wasn't just our technology evolving. The network was helping us evolve the one thing that makes us unique: our ability to imagine and create change. Commander Hayes received new reports from the transformed ships in orbit. They're saying they want to learn from us. Not our technology, but our way of thinking. Our ability to embrace transformation. Kittle's form pulsed with what could only be described as joy. The Ancient Ones understood that true power lies not in preservation or control, but in the ability to grow, to change, to become more than what you are. Humanity doesn't just possess this power, you embody it. The quantum network continued to pulse with the combined dreams of billions, each individual consciousness contributing to a symphony of imagination that was reshaping the galaxy. But unlike the rigid control the Viridians had sought, or the forced evolution the Concordat had planned, this transformation grew from humanity's most fundamental trait: the ability to look at what is and imagine what could be. Earth had become more than just another world in the vast expanse of space. It had become a beacon of transformation, a living example of what consciousness could achieve when it dared to dream beyond the known. The Ancient Ones had not hidden their legacy on Earth to keep it safe. They had planted it here to let it grow alongside a species that would one day show the galaxy how to transform fear into hope, boundaries into horizons, and the unknown into possibility. As the quantum network stabilized, connecting consciousness across light years through the newly formed dreamways, humanity prepared to take its first steps into a galaxy that was no longer divided between those who sought to control and those who sought to conquer. Instead, they would lead the way into an age of continuous evolution, where the only constant was the endless capacity for change. The age of isolation was over. The age of imagination had begun.